Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Draft video series. It's your podcast host here, Heidi Fang, and I'm joined with our NFL writer, Adam Hill. We're going to be breaking down everything NFL draft related, especially pertaining to your Raiders. So you're going to want to make sure to check in with us as this new series is unveiled episode by episode. First of all, let's take a minute here and welcome Adam to the show. Adam, how you doing?
I'm good, and I'm ready. It's draft season. It's always a fun time of the year, and you get to project all these things that you think can happen, and then, of course, draft day comes, and none of the things that you expect actually do happen.
That's always part of the process of what happens with the NFL draft is trying to figure out what's going to happen. And right now, when you look at it, I'm seeing a lot of experts predict linebackers for the Raiders. The name that keeps coming up from Notre Dame is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Adam, do you think that this is the direction that the Raiders might go with that number 17 pick?
I actually don't. I think, my mind has kind of changed a little bit. I thought early on in the process, linebacker might be a logical place for the Raiders to go. And I think that's what a lot of the experts were looking at as well. But Nick Morrow is back in the mix for the Raiders. And don't forget, they invested heavily in free agency last year in that position. I think that they expect both Nick Kwiatkowski and to a larger degree Corey Littleton to take steps forward. Nick Morrow, as we said, had a really good season last year, and they were able to bring him back into the fold. So I think that they have to look elsewhere. And, a lot of people think safety, really only one safety in Trayvon Morgan, who is a first-round projection. But I'm squarely on board for the Raiders needing to go offensive line here. They've got some good young players that they want to try to build around. We know that they got younger in that position by getting rid of some of their veteran players for salary cap purposes. They like some of their young talent, but I think they need more depth, and they need some surefire starters. I think they invest heavily there early in this draft.
This is a very talent-rich draft for offensive tackle specifically. Is that a position that you think that they look at, and is there any name that pops out to you when you start looking down the list?
Well, for sure. I think they need interior linemen too. I think they need to look at a guard, but we've seen over the years tackle has become kind of the glamour position, especially in that first round. If you're going to take a guard, it's going to have to be just a surefire, no doubt about it type player. But I think that there's some options here. I think guys like Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater will be off the board when the Raiders pick at 17. But there's that mix, that next group, that I think there's a good chance they might have their choice of some of these players. I think Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech is rising up the boards a little bit. He may be gone, but if he's there, that's a guy to look at. Walker Little, there's some debate on whether he falls in 4 or maybe somewhere closer to 6 or 7. But I think he's good. I think Dylan Radins from North Dakota State is a guy that a lot of people have their eye on, is kind of rising up the draft board. Of course, playing with Trey Lance, a lot of people were at that pro day to check them out. Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State as well. But listen, the guy that I've had circled for a while, and the guy that I think the Raiders thrilled with, is Elijah Vera-Tucker from USC. He projects as a tackle, and I think he will play tackle to start in the NFL. But he's also a guy that has played guard in college. He has that versatility, and I think the Raiders need help all along that offensive line. So a guy like Elijah Vera-Tucker would really be a valuable asset for them to have as they continue to try to build off the line.
I'm going to throw a name at you just because I saw this on Twitter, and it says from Jonathan Jones. He works with CBS Sports. Raiders DC Gus Bradley was among the coaches in attendance at today's Wake Forest Pro Day, where edge Carlos Basham Jr. performed. Do you think that he would be somebody that they look at if he's already being scouted by the Raiders DC?
Listen, as much as they invested here, they tried to make their defensive line better. They brought in Yannick Ngakoue, of course, to be that kind of star edge rusher. But, it would make some sense to bring in some youth there as well. They need all the help they can get up front. We know how important getting to the passer is in this Gus Bradley defense. So more help, the better there. And, of course, if he falls, that'd be something that they would look at. He's a little bit undersized. So I think that might be something that the Raiders would look at and hope that maybe he falls down. But he does check all the boxes that you want out of an edge rusher. So makes some sense there. He's a guy I think that will definitely be on the radar.
You mentioned a name there, Trey Lance. If that particular name should fall and be available at 17, do you think that the Raiders would have to take a look at somebody like that at that position and throw all of the other draft cards out the window?
Possibly. I mean, first of all, I don't expect that to be an issue. I don't think that he would necessarily fall to 17 where the Raiders are choosing. But listen, I think that they've established that whoever the best player available is when they choose is the guy that they're going to take. And if they believe he's the best player on the board, I think they would look at him. Now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you look at this team because they have a very set quarterback room. They're happy with where Derek Carr is. His contract now is really not that burdensome because, you know, a lot of quarterbacks have kind of passed him. When he signed the deal, a lot of people thought it was for a lot of money. Now it's at the lower end of the scale for starting quarterbacks, especially really good starting quarterbacks. So they've got Carr. They've got Mariota under a more team-friendly deal now after the restructuring. So I think that they're pretty set in the quarterback room. But if you look at what they're doing in this offseason, they are trying to get younger in a lot of different areas. It does seem to be not a full rebuild, but they are definitely trying to go younger. And it would make some sense if you added a rookie quarterback, especially a project quarterback like Trey Lance that may not be ready for a couple of years to play at this level. And by that time, maybe Derek Carr is, you know, getting up there in years. Maybe he's decided that he wants to move on. You know, you develop that quarterback later. You know, the Packers took a quarterback in the first round, even though they had Aaron Rodgers. So if they think he's the best player, I think they would go that direction. I don't think they're going to have to worry about it because I don't think he'll be there. And at the same time, I don't think it's very high on their wish list.
That idea was sparked by a former colleague of ours. So I had to think about it and ask and see what our NFL guy thinks about it. So Adam, I appreciate the time here. We're going to keep doing this series throughout the month of April leading up to the NFL draft to keep everybody up to date on all of the latest, any news that we find, anything interesting. We will have it here on VegasNation.com as well as on the Vegas Nation app. So make sure to download that today. And you can follow everything Adam's doing at Adam Hill LVRJ because he is the man in charge of doing all these rankings. He'll have mock drafts up. For Adam, I'm Heidi. Thanks for watching.